So I think people are forgetting how good the Bears were last year. They won their division. They won 11 games. Okay. And they got to the playoffs, and that Rams game, Rams played virtually perfect football. I don't think they had a penalty or a turnover. Rams played really, really well.
It was the Bears' best defensive performance, it feels like, of the season. Yeah.
Okay. When you look at their schedule, it just shows you how hard in this league it is, how hard to predict overall seasons. It's not hard to predict what teams can make the playoff. I can get more than half on that. Just go to quarterbacks and coaches. But if you look at the Bears' schedule, I'm going to give them 6 wins out of division. Tampa, the Jets, and the Saints at home. I'll give them those 3 wins. I'm going to give them, although they may be close, 3 road wins. Falcons, Carolina, though they could be tough, and Miami. And then I'm going to say they're just going to split in their division. Win 1, lose 1, Detroit, Green Bay, and Minnesota. That's only 9 wins. So, you look at the Bears and you think they'll be better. It's very possible they could go to Carolina. I mean, the Rams almost lost to Carolina twice last year. This league is so, it's why there's this sense that, well, Caleb Williams will be better and they'll get back. And this is to your point. I think the Bears are going to keep growing. But if you go look at think about these games they have. These are home games. Philadelphia, Patriots, Jaguars. Those are tough games. And then they go on the road, Seattle and Buffalo. So you just keep, the better you are, the tougher schedule you face. It's the opposite of college football, where the better you are, the better transfer portal and better recruiting class you have. So the NFL does an amazing job. You really have to improve your record, because I'm giving them 6 out of conference wins, and I'm giving them at least a split in division. I'm only at 9.
They did go 2-4 last year in the division. It's not like those 11 wins, they dominated the division. And that's the thing. That they had teams that were quote unquote down. The Lions, the Lions beat them twice. Now, the last game of the season, it was kind of a weird spot, but remember early on in the season when it kind of started rocky, the Lions killed them. So
look at this. I could argue the toughest places to play in the league are Buffalo, Seattle, Minnesota's hard to play, Green Bay. Their road games next year are Lions, Green Bay, Minnesota, Buffalo, Seattle. Those are rough. And depending on for the record, depending on the time. What if you're playing Buffalo first week of December? That's way different than September.
Yeah. I think this is a fairly fascinating discussion, because I had just literally finished recording a video about the Chicago Bears. But I knew I wanted to make another one because in that segment, Colin mentions that he'll talk about them next. So I was curious what he was going to say. It worked out well because I got to split things up and focus purely on the idea of hosting workouts and all that. I actually liked that video, to be honest. And now we have this conversation. There are a few different angles I want to take here because, first of all, this is exactly what makes the NFL so incredible. It's genuinely difficult to sustain greatness year after year after year. No matter how much faith you have in your roster, no matter how dominant they were the previous season, you can say, I think my team will be good, I think they'll be competitive, but you truly have no idea how good or how competitive. I see this constantly in the comment section. People say things like, oh, we're definitely getting back to where we were, or we're definitely going to be that team, or we're definitely winning the division, and the reality is, you have no clue. Honestly. And again, I think that's awesome. In many ways, it's the complete opposite of basketball. Look at Oklahoma City. They won, and it was the safest bet in town to say, I think they're going to be an elite team and a top contender next year. And then boom, guaranteed. They became the #1 seed just like that. Yo. You don't really have that in the NFL much. You just don't. Even with Kansas City, right? Because they're obviously the most recent team with the most consistent success. There were plenty of moments where you thought, I don't know if they're the best team. Seriously, one year it was the Ravens, another year the Bills, the Eagles, right? You find yourself saying, yeah, I don't know. The 49ers? It would be easy to say, oh, the Bears, of course they're going to win 4 out of 6 or 5 out of 6 division games. They're going to sweep everyone. And then you have to ask, what did they actually do last year? That's what we see. That's what makes division games so great. I mean, how many times have we seen bad division teams still beat teams in their division that are clearly light years better? The Rams are significantly better than the Panthers, yet the Panthers beat them in that one game, and they absolutely should have beaten them in the first round of the playoffs. They should have won that wild card game. No question. Sean McVay himself admitted that Puka Nacua saved the game because Matthew Stafford would have thrown a game-losing interception, but Puka knocked it free and recovered it. And even without that, with literally 0.02% better decision-making, the Panthers would have won. That's how fine the margin is. The Bears experienced that in their own game against the Los Angeles Rams. They could have won that game 8 different ways, and they could have lost it GHT different ways. Same thing against the Packers. They could have won that game 8 different ways, and they could have lost it 8 different ways. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's what makes football utterly unbeatable from an entertainment perspective. But I think we're having the wrong conversation. And the reason I'm glad Colin phrased things this way is that it really reinforces what I've been saying about the Bears. I genuinely believe it's the most accurate take. I said it last year, and I know I've repeated this a lot, but I think it's standing the test of time right now because Colin pointed out that people don't realize how good the Bears were last season. They won 11 games, went only 2-4 in the division, and now this year he says he thinks they'll be great, but he can only see 9 wins. And what he means isn't that they'll only win 9 games, but that he's only confident in 9, and you have to see how the rest unfolds. I think that's totally fair. The way I look at any team's schedule, I give them the easy wins and the hard losses. That's not to say that's exactly how the schedule will play out, but if you're playing the Bills, you're probably going to lose. Not because I think you'll definitely lose, but if you're going to lose any game, the Bills are certainly a game you could lose. So just to establish a foundation, just to get a sense of where things stand, I'll say you lose that game. That becomes kind of my floor. That's my genera. Range of wins and losses. A lot of times that puts teams at around 9 wins, 10 wins, and you think, okay. I know they'll lose a game they absolutely should have won. And I know they'll win a game they could have and should have lost, but they pulled it off. So how does it all balance out? But they obviously had, because Middlecoff in the previous segment mentioned that they won a lot of those games in pretty weird, crazy, last-minute ways. And that's true. But they needed to not rely on that. For instance, the Kansas City Chiefs in 2024, or the Washington Commanders in, I guess also 2024, and maybe even to some degree the Denver Broncos in 2025, a lot of those games, a lot of those moments for those teams, they needed wild ways to win, brilliant fourth quarters, last-second prayers, and so on. But there wasn't a collection of plays or throws that I could point to and say, if you had just done better, you wouldn't have even been in this situation. And actually, in many ways, the Bears' playoff game against the Rams highlights exactly what I'm about to say. The Bears found themselves in those situations and they pulled them off, obviously, but you can't expect to always pull that off every single year. We saw some absolutely insane heroics from Caleb. You can't bank on that. That can't be your path forward. That luck runs out. You're not always going to be successful. It even ran out for Patrick Mahomes, right? It's going to happen. It's going to happen to Caleb. But UW. Wouldn't have needed those heroics if you had just executed better a few plays earlier. So if I'm looking just off recent memory of the Commanders and the Chiefs and how they were able to win, they had an unbelievable record in last-second one-score games. There wasn't a collection of those plays where I could say, and again, if you zoom in enough, there's always a play, but it's not the same as saying, come on, these are the plays you have to make, these are the things you need to do. Whereas with the Bears, that was the case. The Bears did have those moments. And this is where I thought Colin was going with this take, and I'm glad he didn't, because it allows me to make the point. Colin said the Rams were perfect. They were perfect in every way. And that's true. So there's only so much more room for them to improve. Whereas the Bears have such a runway for improvement. There's so much space for them to get better so that they won't need those heroics. And then when you combine that, okay, now we're putting ourselves in a position to just get these wins without the heroics, then we could actually technically take a step back in terms of dramatic moments but still not go backward at all. Still not regress. Because in many ways, the heroics, the huge incredible insane moments, are a lot more luck-based than anyone wants to admit. Even Caleb's insane moment against the Rams, that touchdown pass, it's obviously skill, obviously special, obviously unbelievable, and it was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. But you run that play 100 times, and if we're being honest with ourselves, you're going to convert maybe 2 out of 100 times. It just so happens that in the version of reality we live in, it worked. We saw it go the Bears' way. And you're going to take those steps back. You're not going to be able to have that magic every time. It ran out in that very game, literally. So when they execute better, when they take care of all the easy stuff, they won't need that. They'll be a more consistent, resilient, solid team. The Bears were so far from playing perfect football. I mean, really far. Really far. That's why it was impossible for me to watch their games last year and not think, oh my gosh, there's so much potential. This team could explode in a positive direction. They could explode if they just make ever so slight tweaks. That's why I kept saying it's game over. Just game over. They could be averaging 40 points a game. We could remove every single one of Caleb's special plays and you'd still be putting up 30+ points. So I'm just fascinated by what year 2 with Caleb and Ben Johnson looks like. I'm genuinely fascinated by that. I really, really am. So we can talk about the ways they were able to win last year, this and that, and what they have to do this year. Colin said it's really hard to get better, you have to truly improve in order to keep competing. And that's right. If you were already a team doing everything right, and that's where you capped out, then okay. But the Bears weren't doing everything right. And yet that's still what they achieved. So if you just take care of the things beneath you, you have the potential to skyrocket. I mean, there are only a couple of teams right now that I feel have that kind of potential where if you just do all the little things, the eruption of production, I actually like that phrase, the eruption of production, can honestly just be through the roof. It can be absolutely like, how are you stopping this? The only way you hope to stop it is if you get shell-shocked in the playoffs, or you make a mistake, you throw a pick six that gets tipped off the tight end's fingers, and that was the one thing you couldn't let happen, and it happened, and you just couldn't bounce back. Because I think there is just such insane, through-the-roof potential. Now, there are other teams I've talked about where I say, if you just take care of the little things, if you just elevate the floor, you'll be great, you'll be a contender, an elite team, a top team, a Super Bowl contender, a Super Bowl frontrunner, all those positives. But with the Bears, you do that and you could have the potential to be historic. Historic. And it primarily comes down to that man right there. It pretty much all comes down to him. If he truly can take his throne, his spot as the generational talent, the next Mahomes, Mahomes 2.0, all the stuff everyone was saying, if he is that guy, that quarterback. Then you're looking at a historic season. And I think this year, the coming year, and this is what makes it so exciting, this year is going to answer essentially 99.9% of the questions you have about Caleb. I really believe that. Any of the questions, any of your evaluations, any of your views, we are going to find out exactly who Caleb Williams is. And what he's destined to do. Not necessarily destined to achieve, because even Mahomes and Brady still needed a lot of things to bounce their way to get 3, 4, 5 Super Bowls. But we will find out very quickly, I believe, this year, is Caleb on the path to being one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen, or is he an awesome talent who can do a lot of awesome things, some great things, a lot of fun things, and does he just get thrown into the category of, well, we know he's a top quarterback in the NFL, clearly top 5, but is it where we say, no, it's Caleb, and then you fight over everyone else? I think those questions get answered this coming season. Because there's clear stuff he needs to work on. He's got continuity, he's got the talent. Not only does he have talent himself, but he has talent around him, coaching, all that good stuff. So it's like, okay. Year 3. Here you go. Here you go. And even talking about it being a harder division and all that, it is. I've always called the NFC North the gauntlet. But again, if you are who I'm saying you should be, or who you're believed to be, then Kyler Murray, Jordan Love, Jared Goff, no, your level is ahead of them. Just like Mahomes is levels ahead of them. There's a clear difference. You say, yeah, you're great, you're successful, you're awesome, you have your moments, but we can all see a pretty clear difference. Again, I love Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff is awesome. Sorry, Bears fans. I would love to have Jared Goff as the quarterback of my team. But there's a difference between Patrick Mahomes and Jared Goff. There's a difference between Kyler Murray, okay? Or J.J. McCarthy, or Carson Wentz, pick your quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. There is a clear difference. We know that. There's a clear difference. The quarterback who technically has the most unknown and who says, hey, I can still fully make an impact myself, is indeed Jordan Love. And it's like, okay, well, if that's true, time for you to answer that call. And listen, they've already given us some awesome matchups. I loved watching that. But yeah. I'm just excited to see because I kept kicking the can down the road and kept saying, I don't need these questions answered right now. I don't need them answered in his rookie year. I don't need them in his first year with Ben Johnson. I was still looking at it through a rookie lens. Now we're talking about year 2 with Ben Johnson, year 3 in the NFL. I believe in the team, I believe in the squad, I believe in the talent. You're putting in the work, and I'm just like, alright, now it's time. Now it's time to get those questions answered. And if they're yes, then you're talking about being legitimately historically great. If they're no's, if they're kind of in-betweeners, then okay. You have a fun season, a great season still, a good season, a little up and down, a little left, a little right, a little this, a little that, and you still have potential, still could be great, still could be that, but are you on the path to historical greatness? Or are you just going to be an awesome quarterback, a top quarterback? What's it going to be? Because you're not going to be a bad quarterback. You're not going to be trash. You're not going to be a liability. I don't believe that. I feel like that's already clearly not even remotely in the conversation. So it's really just, how special are you going to be? How historical are you going to be? So we get to find out. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you all think about the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams? Do you trust Caleb to lead the Bears to a Super Bowl? Do you think it's going to be a tough path forward as Colin is emphasizing? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Agree or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some debates, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you be part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing that. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.